Gentlemen, ladies, this is the way it works. Adequate notice of this October the 23rd, 2014 meeting has been provided in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by posting written notice and agenda of the meeting on the bulletin board in the Municipal Building, 1000 Route 10, Township of Hanover, and by hand delivering, mailing, or faxing such notice and agenda to the following newspapers: Morris County's Daily Record, the Star Ledger, Hanover Eagle, and by filing same with the Township Clerk. May I have a roll call, please?
Committeeman Gallagher.
Here.
Committeeman Ferramasta.
Here.
Committeeman Bruno.
Here.
Committeeman Capola.
Here.
And Mayor Franciulli.
Here.
5 members in attendance, sir.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, would you all please rise, those that can, and join me in a pledge of allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Please be seated. Okay, at this time, gentlemen, I'd like a motion to open the floor to the public for any items not appearing on the agenda. Motion, okay, and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the floor is open. Anyone that would like to address the Township Committee can do so from the podium, giving us your name and address for the record. Hearing none, seeing none. Oh, Richard, go ahead. Richard, you got to shout in that microphone. This audio system's down.
I've been accused of having a very loud voice. So you don't have to worry about that. My name is Richard Dunn. I live at 59 Manger Road in Cedar Knolls, New Jersey. I come before the committee for 2 reasons. First, this coming Tuesday at my house, I'm holding an open house or a meet and greet or a coffee, whatever you want to call it, to meet the Democratic candidates that are running for Congress, freeholder, and surrogate. That's Mark Dunick, Matt Davis, and George Tannis. As of right now, in attendance will also be former Governor Richard Cody and Assemblywoman. I'm doing this. My wife and I are opening our house for the second time to try and attract Hanover Township residents so that they get to know the candidates and they can make an informed choice the following week on Election Day. I did attend the breakfast today at the Rotary and invited local business leaders to come. Some seem interested. So I don't personally care whether your affiliation is as a Republican or a Democrat. What I'm interested in is having people come and listen to the candidates speak so that they make an informed choice. I welcome anyone who is politically inclined or politically interested to come to my house, regardless, like I said, of whether they're Republican registered voters or Democrat registered voters, or even unaffiliated registered voters. I can't forget that because at least the last couple of years they've been the largest block of voters. That's number one. Number two, some of you may know, some of you may not know, that this past summer I was the manager of the American Legion baseball team. After many, many years of having a team, the American Legion did not have a team the last 3 years. Mr. Minerovich, who's the Legion commander, and I resurrected that baseball team this past summer. We were at a baseball meeting last week together, and we were having a discussion. And he pointed out to me that last winter was the first winter that the American Legion did not have its parking lot and driveways plowed by the town free of charge. Now, he made me understand that someone was going to appear on behalf of the Legion tonight to request that this committee revisit that and reconsider. Mr. Ron Angler was supposed to appear. I don't know Mr. Angler, and I'm not a member of the American Legion Post, but I did speak to Mr. Minerovich this afternoon, and he did authorize me to speak on behalf of the Legion Post because of my association as its baseball manager. And I'm here to request that the committee reconsider because it has an effect on what I do. It has an effect I think this past year was the first year American Legion Post 155 had to assess a cost to its baseball players to participate. And while we did garner enough interest to present a sufficient roster, Mr. Minorovitz and I would like to be able to command an even greater presence in the community among children who are children of age that are of that ilk, baseball ilk. And I'm not saying that we still won't have to, or the Legion still won't have to charge, but I think it would have an effect if they didn't have to spend the money on snow plowing services. I think Mr. Minorovitz mentioned they spent somewhere between the neighborhood of $5,000 and $6,000, and it did become a factor in what was charged to kids. All I want is a reconsideration by this committee, because it likely will reduce the cost the Legion will have to charge to attract ball players on the team. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Yeah,
Thank you,
Rich,
Ricky.
I think Ron Engel, he had mentioned to me, Ron who was a former commander and now he's commander at the VFW, that Ron said he was gonna be here, so I'm glad you came, but he said he
Yeah,
also was gonna be
Bob
here.
Minorovitz told me he was going to be here. He also said that you, Mr. Capola, were going to speak on behalf of that issue as well.
Well, I told Ron when he spoke to me about it, I said, well, he's gonna give me some information as to what the rationale is, and I've seen Ron a couple times, and I still don't have anything from him as far as what is it that,
Rationale.
yeah.
Well, my reason is one. I'm not saying it is the, but I'm saying it is a factor in why the Legion is requesting that.
He had something to do with Wounded Warriors, that was something that his was something to do with Wounded Warriors, Ron.
Well, Mr. Minorovitz.
Some money, this
did
was for
not
the,
share that.
this was for the VFW.
Okay.
But I'm sure he was considering all of them, both, posts.
Well, Township Committee, I think over a year ago now, adopted a policy on the snow plowing. What was in years past is that once our Public Works Department had covered all the municipal streets and all the municipal obligations, that we would do churches and we would do the Legion as well as the American Legion, etc. But you bring up a point, Richard, of cost to them, and it was no different than equating the cost to now the public works side, because those gentlemen were then putting in additional hours, time, overtime to do that. And in the past, and I don't sit here to say I have the exact answer as to why it became an issue, but in the past it was one where we did this as a courtesy to the churches and some schools, by the way, and as well as the veteran services. But I think we can talk about it again and revisit it. But I think that probably Bob, you're going to want Brian Foran.
I think, I'm obviously sympathetic. I played baseball for the Legion, so I know where you're coming from. I think last year was an extremely bad winter. Hopefully we won't get another one like that again, but we could. I think, and this was stopped before, I was involved in the committee or involved with DPW, but I think we couldn't do for one and not do for the other. So I think if we're going to say, well, we'll revisit it for the Legion, we got to consider the VFW and
Well, you have
everybody
to-
else, because
if
we
you
took
do
them
for
all
one,
at the same time. It
No,
wasn't
if you do for
like
one, you have to do it for all, because
Well,
that- Nobody was discriminating against the Legion, I guess that's the point.
I think it's all the nonprofits is what we were doing.
Yeah.
5 churches. and-
Churches.
And I heard from every church we had in town.
I'm not here suggesting I know all the details or all the cost figures, because in fact, as I mentioned, I'm not a member, but I am now associated and will continue to be the manager, at least next year as well. And we were just discussing it, and he had mentioned that a request was going to be made, so I told him I was going to be here to make my announcement about the meet and greet, and that if he had no objection, that I would make the request to the committee.
There's no harm in us revisiting it, truly, and looking at it and seeing what our experience is, and we can do that. Happy to do that. Like I said, I think the proper people will be involved with that would be our Director of Public Works, Brian Ferran, certainly our liaison, to them as well. Our committeeman will be, joining them as well, Bob Bruno, and, and the administrator, and we'll in one sense, I'm glad you're bringing up the subject, because if it's still an issue before the Veterans Alliance is fine, let's flesh it out, let's clear it up. But all I do say is this: what we do for one, and George just said it, we must do for all.
And I don't mean to suggest you should prefer one organization over another, just that they made a request to reconsider. And Mr. Minirovich did make it a point to say to me, let them know that we don't consider ourselves a preference organization, in the sense that we can wait until all the other planning is done, but as your mayor, you pointed out, there is an additional cost. I mean, he talked to me about, well, it's only an additional half hour, but if it's an additional half hour for the churches, the schools, and all the veterans organizations, well, then it amounts to 4 hours, and then there's a cost to the township. I understand that. All I'm asking, in my capacity, is that the committee reconsider it.
Okay,
And we will.
thank you, Rich.
Thank you.
I'm gonna reach out to Ron again, just talk to him about it. Okay, thank you.
Hey, you can have this one.
Thanks.
Judy, how are you?
Judy Arati, 43 Locust. Judy Arati, 43 Locust Drive, Hanover, down.
Judy, could you move the mic over, because we need to record?
He still needs to pick you up.
Yeah, I need to pick you up, sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, I know the background of this request, and as a matter of fact, I was talking with the commander of the VFW, running Ingalls on Saturday with the one-day, one-school program at the VFW. By the way, thank you, Ace. They came and they did some landscaping at the VFW, and it turned out beautiful. When I was talking with Ronnie Ingalls, right at this time, he's getting together with the commander of the Legion. They're making a presentation, and they will be in here shortly to make a
Yeah, that's what he
presentation to the
mentioned.
township committee. So they're
Okay.
doing that right now. They haven't talked to all. They're just launching, get together, and both the Legion and the VFW.
Well,
make a presentation.
we're just want you to know, we're receptive to hear whatever comment they have, but just to know that whatever we do has to be equitable for,
Exactly, and that's
Every-
why they're taking the
right.
time to, do like a presentation, and that's why they're taking the time to do that.
okay.
And another subject, I don't know if all the members know that on Tuesday night, the planning board, okayed the Quick Check property across the street.
Yes, they did.
Francie knows that, and Mayor Fairmont, Committeeman Fairmont knows that because they voted for it. But, while it's debatable whether a Quick Check is a good fit for that corner, given the traffic situation and the pollution, potential pollution on that corner, I was very disheartened to learn that now our neighborhood, Alforest Road, will be having truck traffic 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's noise, pollution, fumes from truck traffic, where residential homes were rezoned to allow this 24-hour-a-day operation of the gasoline stations. And also, they have an entrance and exit from Route 10, South Jefferson Road, and now from New Crane Road, which was a residential street. It was rezoned to allow the planning board okayed entrance from New Crane Street, which is a residential street. So I'm trying to rationale this whole situation, because I know that across town, the vegetable stand, there was a similar situation, and as quoted in the paper, Mayor Francelli said, no residents should have to be exposed to early morning truck noise, fumes, etc. Which I agree with, but now here, the residents of Malaforest Road who
I think you're not comparing apples to apples here, but go ahead. You're making a distinction between a use in an industrial use inside a residential zone versus a retail use in a retail zone, but go ahead.
Okay, well, you're right, there was a residential use, there was a commercial use being done in that residential use. There was a residential use over here, and you changed the zone to allow commercial use. So, and if that's the case, why don't you rezone Mary's property to allow her commercial use? Because the truck noise over there, affecting the neighbors over there, is similar to the truck noise over here, 24 hours a day, affecting our neighbors. And I just want to say that I just, even though I don't live there anymore, it's a tragedy that those neighbors now have to put up with the sight and sound of a 24-hour-a-day operation.
Townhouses, what is she talking about? Thank you, Judy. Does anyone else like to be heard at this time? Joseph, you have nothing to say? All right. Hearing none, motion to close?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Mr. Administrator?
Okay, thank you. We have the approval of the Township Committee minutes of October the 9th and bid reception committee meeting of October the 15th. May we have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second. Mr. Bruno, seconded by Mr. Gallagher. On roll call, Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Mr. Faramaska.
Aye.
Mr. Bruno.
Aye.
Mr. Pollard.
Aye.
Mr. Franciola.
Aye.
There are no communications at this time. We continue. We have one ordinance for consideration on public hearing and adoption. It's docketed as ordinance number 40-2014, amending and supplementing Chapter 166 of the Code of the Township, entitled Land Use and Development Legislation, by amending the provisions concerning site plan exemption for minor conforming developments. The ordinance and the notice of introduction appeared in full in the October 2nd issue of the Daily Record. We have notification from the county that the ordinance was filed with the county as required by the municipal land use law. We had also submitted the ordinance as required by the municipal land use law to the Hanover Township Planning Board for referral and recommendation. And I have in my possession a letter dated October the 14th from the Planning Board. And it says, Dear Mr. Giorgio, at its October 14th, 2014 meeting, the Planning Board reviewed and discussed Ordinance 40-14, which has been referred by the Township Committee as required by the Municipal Land Use Law at NJSA 40:55D-26A. Ordinance 40-14 would amend and supplement Chapter 166 of the Code by changing the criteria for development applications to be eligible for site plan exemption pursuant to Section 190-58E. In reviewing Ordinance 40-14 for consistency with the master plan, the Planning Board has determined that the master plan is silent on the subject of procedures for site plan exemption. The Board recommends adoption of the ordinance as introduced, since the ordinance would promote one of the purposes of the municipal land use law at NJSA 40:55D-2M, which states, in pertinent part, to encourage coordination of the various public and private procedures and activities shaping land development with a view of lessening the cost of such development and to the more efficient use of land, end quote. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on Ordinance 40-14. Very truly yours, Robert Nardone, Chairman on behalf of the Planning Board. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, may we have a motion
So moved.
to convene the public hearing? We have
Second.
a motion by Mr. Vermaska, seconded by Mr. Gallagher. On roll call for public hearing. Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Mr. Vermaska.
Aye.
Mr. Bruno.
Aye.
Mr. Pola.
Aye.
And Mr. Franciola.
Aye.
Is there anyone chambers wishing to be heard concerning this ordinance?
Judy Argatti, 42 Wilson Drive, just one minor question, and that, who will be determining if it's a minor conforming development situation? Is there
You want to take that?
criteria there?
There's an ordinance, and within the ordinance, there are specific criteria which will identify whether this could qualify. So there are rules which are established The planner has worked on this, and it's gone through the planning process, and I think it's a good thing for our township.
With a specific criteria?
Absolutely.
Okay, good, thank you.
Anyone else wishing to be heard? Hearing none, seeing none, may we have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Faramaska, seconded by Mr.
Halloween.
Capola. On roll call, Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Mr. Faramaska.
Aye.
Mr. Bruno.
Aye.
Mr. Capola.
Aye.
And Mr. Francioli.
Aye.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, and township committee members, before I ask for a motion on adoption, Mr. Branchow brought to my attention the fact that there was one word missing from one of the exemption criteria under the ordinance. Exemption criteria, only improvements that meet the following criteria may be determined exempt. And it's item 1A3, and it needs to read as follows. I'm sorry, it's 1A3A. The following site improvements other than accessory buildings or other roofed accessory structures, improvements that do not increase the total improvement coverage on the site by more than 1,000 square feet. Inadvertently, the word "not" was omitted from that item 3. So when we do the motion for adoption, it has to be a motion with the amendment. So
Is it in, you note it in there?
it's noted now.
In
Yes.
this, okay.
Yes. So now at this time, may we have a motion on adoption?
I'll make the motion with the amendment.
We have a motion by Mr.
Second.
Faramaska with the amendment, seconded by Mr. Capola. Be it resolved that an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the Township Committee Amending and Supplementing Chapter 166 of the Code," entitled Land Use and Development Legislation, by amending the provisions concerning site plan exemption for minor conforming developments, including the change with the amendment, be passed on final reading, and that a notice of the final passage of the ordinance be published in the October 30th issue of the Daily Record. We have a motion by Mr. Faramaska with the amendment, second by Mr. Capola. On roll call for adoption, Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Mr. Faramaska.
Aye.
Mr. Bruno.
Aye.
Mr. Capola.
Aye.
And Mr. Francioli.
Aye.
So adopted. These are copies also. Ladies and gentlemen, we have one ordinance for introduction this evening. It's docketed as ordinance 42-14. This authorizes the acquisition by purchase or eminent domain, if necessary, of a temporary construction easement and permanent easement in the real property known as Block 5801, Lot 4, on the tax map of the Township of Hanover, for the improvement of the intersection of Whippany Road and Parsippany Road. This ordinance will be further considered for public hearing and final adoption at the Township Committee meeting on the 13th of November at 8:30 p.m. And at that time, any person in chambers will be given an opportunity to be heard concerning the ordinance. It is further resolved that the ordinance and the notice of introduction will be published in full in the October 30th issue of the Daily Record. This time, may we have a motion on introduction for ordinance 42-14?
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Bruno, seconded by Mr. Capola. On roll call for introduction, Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Mr. Faramaska.
Aye.
Mr. Bruno.
Aye.
Capola.
Aye.
And Mr. Francioli.
Aye.
So introduced. Ladies and gentlemen, as we continue...
Just by the way, on that note, just for the public's interest, this ordinance is meant to be put in place, should it be necessary to use it. We are in a very amicable negotiating position with property owners along Parsippany Road, particularly the Quick Check, Church, etc., for the widening of Parsippany Road for the alignment that's going to take place. So there's an amount of property for that widening that will be taken from each side of the road, and proper payment, obviously, to these landowners for the taking of that. But what this ordinance does is if, for whatever reasons, whatever way, shape, or form, these amicable arrangements don't move forward smoothly, as I anticipate they will, then the ordinance in place for condemnation is there to be made use of. It's necessary that this widening, that this takings be a part of the road design, which realigns that entire intersection with Bayer Boulevard. So this is just an engineering step that has to take place. So just wanted you to be aware.
Thank you.
Thank you. No.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, item number 9, resolutions as a consent agenda, items A through J. Are there any questions from members of the governing body concerning any of the resolutions? We have a motion by Mr. Capola for approval.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bruno. And roll call for approval, Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Mr. Ramasca.
Aye.
Mr. Bruno.
Aye.
Mr. Capola.
Aye.
And Mr. Francioli.
Aye.
Raffle applications, also as a consent agenda. Any questions on the 4 raffle applications? Seeing none, we have a motion by Mr. Bruno,
Second.
second by Mr. Gallagher. On roll call for approval, Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Mr. Ramasca.
Aye.
Mr. Bruno.
Aye.
Mr. Capola.
Aye.
And Mr. Francioli.
Aye.
So approved. Mr. Chairman, members of the Township Committee, that clears the agenda of the Township Administrator, Township Clerk, and I thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. Okay, gentlemen, at this time, is there any other business from the Township Committee?
Oh,
Go ahead. Robert?
I just want to mention on Saturday, we'll be having our Halloween happenings at Malapartis Park.
Oh,
Looks like the weather's going to clear, hopefully no more rain, and between 2 and 4, come on out, your costumes, you can trick or treat right there at the park. Our superintendent won't be there, which is really my next announcement. She's out the medical procedure, but we want to wish her a speedy recovery, and we hope to have her back sometime before Christmas.
thank you, Bob. Appreciate that. Tom? Go ahead.
I have a Halloween safety message that I actually asked the committee or that I could read into minutes. And Pete Bergenkamp said, when I read, I look angry. I assure you I'm not angry. But here is our Halloween safety message that Scott Pepper put on the school website. And Joe put it on the Hanover Township website. We shared it with East Hanover, and they said they were also going to use it. The School and Park Traffic Safety Advisory Committee would like to remind all residents that Halloween is falling on a Friday, and we anticipate that trick-or-treating will extend later in most neighborhoods. With that in mind, we would like to provide some tips for everyone in an attempt to make Halloween a safer experience for everyone. The safety tips for children: go out with a group and stay together. Always look both ways, only cross at corners or crosswalks. Choose a costume that is light colored and has some type of reflective type clothing on it. Carry a flashlight or a glow stick. Carry a cell phone. Call 911 if you get lost or scared. A few tips for adults: drive with extra caution due to the increased pedestrian vehicular traffic. Escort your kids and plan the route for them to take. Carry a flashlight to help light the way and make it more visible. Carry a cell phone and report anything suspicious immediately to the police. You can also go to traffic safety at hanoverpolice.com to see this and get any additional information. And Jim, I have a copy of it for you tonight. 2 more quick ones. On November 5th, the senior lunch. We will be having special guests there provided through AMA and Hanover Township Police Department. We have 2 Secret Service agents coming from AMA, and we have Hanover Township Police to brush up on situational awareness and holiday safety tips to our seniors for the season coming up. We've learned more and more in dealing with situations like this that when it comes to our seniors, and my mom's in that category, and I did talk to her today, and she said that she knew all of this and it wasn't necessary, but I invited her to the lunch anyway. What we're going to discuss with the Secret Service and police are specific areas where our seniors are vulnerable to crime. We're also going to talk about internet awareness, and Hanover Township PD is going to go over all the different safety tips that our parents And our older brothers and sisters should be aware of when they're shopping, and they're a little more vulnerable, like walking out to their car with bags and maybe not in a very well-lit parking lot. The last thing I want to do before I hand it over to John is we did have our one day, one school this past Saturday in East Hanover, and it went very well. We had a lot of compliments, and the one thing that made me feel really good was we were complimented by the team we have in Hanover Township. It was also mentioned more than once that it looked like we all wanted to be there, and I'm proud to say the entire Township committee was there, Board of Ed members from Hanover Township, our DPW. It was just a great event, and thanks guys for all your continued support, and that's it.
On that note, just before I hand it over to John, a great deal of thanks goes to Tom Gallagher, Commitment Gallagher, Ace Gallagher. This has been several years that One Day One School has been going on. The program is becoming more popular, expanding. We're talking to other townships that we're going to share services with on this basis. And if there ever was a program that was shared services, this is it. But the more important part of this, and the great thanks that have to go to all of the professional tree surgeons, et cetera, who were out there that day. I mean, numerous, 7, 8, how many companies you have down there?
That day we had 8, and one gentleman that just showed up with a chipper. So really 8.5.
It was just amazing. It saves our Board of Education's hundreds of thousands of dollars. But more importantly, and I'm learning more and more about it as I go out with this guy, is the safety aspect of this thing. When you look at some of these trees that have been let go for countless years, the condition that they're in and the potential for things is there. So you're doing a wonderful service, and we all thank you for that.
Can I,
John, I'm sorry.
Can I just add something to that One Day, One School? It was really a joint effort between East Hanover and Hanover. So we have to thank Public Works from both townships. They really did a great job. Police, our chief was there. I also, even the Knights of Columbus, although we're
Yep.
very active here in Hanover, we worked with the Knights of Columbus in East Hanover, who did all the cooking throughout the course of the day and helped with security. But the fact that both groups worked together, met together at the middle school, was really something to see. It was truly amazing, just to see the full cooperation and all that equipment going back and forth. So, and Tom, as the originator who orchestrated this from day one, it's a great savings to our community, great savings to East Hanover.
Great job. Very good. John?
Yep. Mayor, the Economic Development Advisory Council, more commonly referred to as EDAC, has developed a working theme to describe our community. The working theme they've chosen is great things happen in Hanover. Great things happen in Hanover. Well, when you think about it, great things are happening in Hanover. Consider the following. From a planning perspective, we recently have had the pleasure to welcome many new corporate to our community, namely Bayer, the Red Bulls, Universe. Just this past week, the planning board, after 13 months of reviews, addressed a blighted condition that we have probably 100 yards from this facility. And that condition is where Kathy's Corner sits today, and along with Kathy's Corner is an abandoned, polluted gasoline station. Well, in working with the applicant, the developer, we were able to transform this site into something that will be a state-of-the-art facility. It will be a quick check. It will be a convenience facility. As a result of that facility coming into Hanover Township, the entire intersection of Jefferson and 10, which for anybody who travels that during rush hour is probably best referred to as a difficult situation.
Failure.
Failed intersection, we'll see improvement, significant flow. So that's good news. The second piece of good news here is that there will be significant site remediation to clean up the pollutants that are there. In order to really replace a gasoline station, the best way to replace a gasoline station, especially one from 40 to 50 years ago, is with a new gasoline station. Why? The reason being is because of the requirements of the cleanup that the DEP puts in place. So the cleanup will happen, it will be brought up to today's standards, and it will be borne at no cost to the taxpayers within Hanover Township. In addition, the planning board worked very carefully and got agreement from this applicant to numerous initiatives to protect the safety, security, and minimize the impact to the surrounding area, namely in terms of the operation itself, how it would be operated, buffering, use of lights. So there was significant attention spent to that, as well as promoting an advanced area to allow individuals who live on the Malapartis area to safely exit onto Route Jefferson Road. In addition, the applicant will be paving the entire Ukraine Road at their cost. From a school board perspective, great things also are happening in Hanover. For those of you who are not aware of this, Whippany Park High School was recently awarded the distinction of receiving from the Washington Post as one of the nation's most challenging high schools. From a sports recreation perspective, we recently celebrated the success of our U10 girls softball team, who played on the state level. From a student safety perspective, our township committee members, Mr. Gallagher and Mr. Capola, worked earnestly alongside with our police department, namely Sergeant Locke and an organization called Transoptions, to formulate a school safety navigation initiative to improve safety throughout all of the school zones. From an environmental perspective, the Green Team, led by Phil Glowy and Liaison Gallagher, helped earn bronze certification from New Jersey's Sustainability. So we'll be able to have that for a 4-year period. From a scouting perspective, our local troop produced 3 Eagles. And lastly, although it's been mentioned, I want to mention it one more time. We delivered One Day, One School outside of Hanover Township. Mr. Gallagher is relatively humble about this. This is a significant gift which was given to the nearby community of East Hanover in terms of making that facility a much safer one for the student body to enjoy. It was a fantastic turnout, as been said. The service groups, namely the Knights, were there all day, along with representatives of our DPW, Office of Emergency Management, the Police Chief, and the Board of Education. Mayor, that concludes my report.
Very good, John. Very good.
Yeah,
Getting writer's cramp, but go ahead.
just on the landmark, they've done a significant job on that whole burial area. They have a beautiful stanchion that illustrates where all of the, right up to the Revolutionary War, where everyone is currently buried. I bring this up, I mentioned at the last meeting, and coinciding with Scouts, what we're looking at right now is providing stakes for a tour, for the purpose of a tour that will be put into these, there is a number on the plaque that's on the stanchion as you go into the burial yard, that numbers where all the graves are located, going far back to the Revolutionary War, and we're asking the Scouts, it's a great Eagle Scout project, we'll provide the materials and they'll do the work to implementing them into each of those locations. We also worked over at the burial yard in conjunction with the Garden Club. They also provided us a couple of nice chairs, very nice metal ones that very attractive, and they fit well into the whole area. So the landmark has really done a lot to improve those burial yards, right up from the point of Bob O'Gelly, God rest his soul, who was instrumental with moving the process from its inception. Secondly, I'd just like to ask the residents to please, at night, when you park your cars in the driveway, lock them. All right? Sometimes people have a tendency, I know Hanover is really a wonderful community, I realize that, but things can happen. So just as a, an extra precaution, when you leave, you leave your car in the driveway, just put the lock down, okay? Sometimes kids get a little rambunctious and decide they want to see what's in there, so just as a warning. Thank you.
Thanks, George, appreciate it. That's real good advice, though, sir. We don't, it's a mixed blessing. We're very, very comfortable here in our Hanover, and it never ceases to amaze me how many people I speak to who come and go, take a short trip out to the grocer, leave their doors open, et cetera. It's, they don't think about any possible issue, but leaving your car open overnight, a very dangerous situation now. It's unfortunate, but yeah, they get to your garage door opener from that car, and that's it, access your house, and there's a problem. So that's good advice. I just wanted to add a couple of things here that are very, very important to talk about, and I think that a recent Board of Health meeting that I attended as a member discussed Hanover Township's position and protocol with the most devastating disease which is plaguing our nation, if not the world at this time, and that is Ebola. Our fire companies have been briefed and counseled by Dr. George Van Orden, and let me say how proud we are at this time to have Dr. Van Orden on board. He is known and he's renowned in the state of New Jersey for his work and respected in every area. Conferences and seminars have been put together with both the county, local fire companies, emergency management organization, et cetera, all consistent with the governor's plans. Governor Christie activating the state Ebola preparedness plan. We just want our neighbors, our residents to know that we are being vigilant, we are following protocols, we will continue to follow protocols to keep Hanover safe, and I want you to know that. Secondly, I want to, yes I do want to wish them a happy Halloween. That's good. I want to address something that's important from informational standpoint. You know, with all the social media we have today, you know, we have, Hanover Township has its website, probably many websites. Our police department has its website, our recreation department has its website. We're doing more to consolidate that, and Hanover Township is even going to take a more active position, now taking a Facebook position as well. Social networking is becoming more and more important. But along with certain social networking comes a responsibility for the information that's exchanged on social networking. So what am I talking about? Recent blogs that I've read on the Hanover, on a particular Hanover Facebook posting, and I don't think, by the way, that was an official posting. I think it was a Hanover site that's on Facebook, referred appropriately to some questions about the Whippany Road and Parsippany Road intersections. And the questions were germane to if that Bayer Boulevard isn't going to connect with the Algonquin Parkway on the far end, then, you know, what value is it to us? Well, let me first answer this question with the fact that the realignment of Whippany Road and Parsippany Road came after not just Bayer coming into the site, which, by the way, was occupied, as we know, by the Lucent Corporation for so many years, but a very extensive traffic circulation study plan that went into place, which recommended the abandonment of the two driveway systems that we have there, the second traffic light, and the realignment of Parsippany Road and Whippany Road. And when I say realignment, it's going to go further down past the Quick Check, past the Parish House, et cetera, to straighten that intersection out. It will cross Whippany Road with its entrances onto Bayer Boulevard. As was also mentioned in some of these comments, we had a condemnation of two homes that we're very aware of, Dr. Giaquente and Dr. Garcia. The condemnations of those homes, the cost for those condemnations, the cost for the market purchase of those prices, the cost for relocation of those individuals was not borne by any taxpayer in this town. It was an off-site improvement that's totally the responsibility of Bayer Corporation. And for the record and for the fact, Bayer Corporation and 67 Whippany LLC. It's another allied corporation on that site. We're responsible for all of that. That being the case, the question then goes forward as to then what value is Bayer Boulevard? Well, Bayer Boulevard, aside from the very, very obvious and the safe intersection alignment and the abandonment of the driveway, will become accessible to the South Campus. That means that there's a cross agreement where South Campus roads, South Campus access to Bayer Boulevard in the front portion will be available. There is a security aspect in this that most people are not aware of, but if you can see, Bayer Corporation is surrounded by a secure black fence that goes there, and that's halfway up the driveway. So at some point, and it's clearly marked with signage, the driveway becomes private in that the security of that corporation and what they do there is was foremost to them when they took the property itself. We, Township of Hanover, in conjunction with Bayer, want the connection to the Algonquin Parkway at the far end. It's a continuum of a thought for the road circulation system. We want the connection of Eden Lane to open up and go down to the Algonquin Parkway and come across. It's important to the traffic circulation of that area for that critical site of some 210 acres in gross total. We are not moving forward with any density project on that site, be it housing or other, until resolutions of the traffic situation have satisfied the Township of Hanover. Those resolutions may involve the DOT, DEP, New Jersey Land Trust, etc. Many agencies involved in that. Hanover's been down to Trenton many times on this thing trying to facilitate this. It's not going to be an overnight thing, and it's not going to be resolved overnight. Finally, on the South Campus, we are hearing fairly justifiably concepts for the South Campus. Those concepts may involve housing, may involve office buildings, may involve extended stay hotels, may involve assisted living facilities, may involve park-like and recreational conditions, etc., and total mixed use on that site. There has been no resolution to any of that. That presently is an OBRL zone, Office Building Research Lab. That's what it's been for countless years. That's what it is now. We have not changed the zone. We are not altering the zone. Are we hearing argument to alter the zone? Sure. That's how the process works. Concepts come forward to us. The planning board examines those concepts. We will examine those concepts. But for the public's benefit, there has been no commitment to anything regards density housing and the alike, as been indicated in some of these blogs. Ultimately, and then I'll be quiet, I sit here with 4 other committeemen. There are 5 of us here, myself a committeeman. We are more than happy to share factual information with you. We are more than happy to answer your questions, whether it's through Facebook, whether it's through your blogs, whether it's through our own site. Stop here first. Get the information, get the facts straight, and it'll cause less alarm for you in the long run. So thank you very much.
I got one more.
Oh, something's happening out there. Wish everybody a safe Halloween experience.
Safe Halloween. And one more.
Absolutely. Happy Halloween to everybody. And, oh, the guidelines, they were posted on the website. Oh, yeah. Okay, and John, you have one more comment.
One more. In the resolutions which we pass in consent, I just want to point out one of those resolutions. Everybody on this board who sits here really, truly embraces the concept of job number 1 is safety. And I can speak that with 100 degree of certainty. Tonight, one of those resolutions that was passed was for the construction and installation of a sidewalk on Reynolds Avenue and Parsippany Road. This is a significant investment that the town has made, and it's a significant investment in safety, and this is something that everyone on this committee really is very proud of the fact that we were able to get this into the budget, and Just want to let everybody know that that is factual. It has happened, and we'll be keeping everybody posted as to the timetable for implementation. A lot of that will be weather-related.
One comment about that. I'd just like to say that I'm extremely proud and pleased that this is passed and we are going to move forward on it, because this is actually something that we all discussed together when I was a Board of Education member. And people came up to me repeatedly and said, well, we've never had it before, why do we need it now? But in the old days, people would leave MJS and go to the deli and go back. But now they walk down to Johnny's, they walk down to Quick Check. So I think it was great sitting on both sides of the desk on this one, and it was great working with you guys on it, and it was a lot of work, and here we are.
Good.
That's it.
Thank you, Ray. Anything else from the committee?
Open to
No?
public.
Motion to open the floor once
So
again?
moved.
Second.
Motion seconded, all in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the floor is once again open, giving us your name and address for the record. Hello, Judy.
Hi, Judy Arias, 42 Northeast Drive, my own town. I want to thank you, Mayor, for giving accurate facts to a rumor. That's on the bottom, it was presented as a rumor. I think that's all the residents want to know. They want to know accuracy on the situation. And lots of times, there's rumors that go around, and when it goes from one person to another person to another person, you know how it gets all mixed up. So, like I said, I want to thank you for clarifying that particular rumor. And also, I was thinking that, for residents to come to one township committee person or the township committee, if I came to you by the time I came out and maybe talked to Joe, it would be a different story. Joe would talk to Mike, it would be a different story. So you don't want to do that.
That's the way it works.
That's the way it works. And by the time it gets back, it's nothing like what you said. So perhaps when you do your social media, Facebook, you can have the residents post questions to you, and maybe that you could answer at a township committee meeting. A short question, I heard this, is this true? We don't need a formal written type of a situation, but sometimes people are really concerned about little things, and to get the accurate facts in the beginning would be certainly helpful.
I think the use of social media is a must. It's going to become a passion of mine, along with one other passion of mine. That's this township starting to go paperless. But that's a whole other program that we're starting to get involved. George is smiling, but we're going to get him converted. We're going to get him converted.
He's gonna get me converted.
George can read text, but he doesn't respond to text.
But Judy, I couldn't agree with you more. And by the way, in reading some of the blogs, I have to agree with the intent for us to be more transparent and to deliver more information. We want to do that. EDAC, as John might have mentioned in your comments about the social networking, is employing Brushfire, which is the agency that they engaged. Brushfire's next phase is social networking, particularly Facebook, to set up a Facebook setup for Hanover, and to encourage Facebook use, questions, comments, etc. They will be providing answers where they can. Where they can't, they will get those answers. They'll become the conduit to the township committee, etc. We will be also assigning a communications officer within the township to monitor and to provide concise, correct information. So I think that's going to be a big help. We want to do more. There's discussion about bringing back the quarterly newsletter, because, look, many of our community, again, I don't want to sound long-winded, but we have another distinction in Hanover. We have the largest seniors community in the county. 28% of Hanover Township's senior and above. Doesn't include me, though. And it's Joe, that's right. We're not all on iPhones, we're not all on iPads, we're not all on computers. Joe is, by the way. To those people, we want to continue with conventional print materials so that they're kept aware, gets to the kitchen table, they'll read it. We're going to do that. So economic development, and John, as John knows, I'm very proud of that group. They're trying to move forward in all ways, not just with our businesses, with business retention, but making sure that the public gets more information that they need right away. So thank you, but we're going to be working on that.
So, like you said, Facebook, if you did the town Facebook on there, and people could see the question, like if I had a question for, Mr. Bruno about recreation, I thought maybe, I had a program that maybe they should be considered, maybe 20 other people in town are thinking the same thing, and you don't want 20 responses, just one line, and people say, oh yeah, I was thinking about that too. So it's a good sharing for the residents.
Well,
and then
maybe you can assist us in, preparing what the formats could be, along with, if we put you in touch and brush fire with you and you with brush fire to discuss some of this. This is an area of media that you're familiar with, that you work with every day, so I think you could be a help to us, and I'd like to see you work with them, you know?
I think I'm familiar with what's on the residents' minds, so thank you very much.
Thanks, Judy. Anyone else like to be heard at this time?
Yeah,
Joe, you don't have to get up, you can shout.
There's no mic.
You know, you remind me of Red Boyke, and I want to tell you why. And I'm so proud of you. Because Red stood up there one time, after he had moved into his condominiums, was complaining about parking. And that people were taking parking spaces, and it was making it very inconvenient. And he said, so someone said to him, but Red, you have handicap parking spaces right next to your unit, use them. And Red looked down at him and he glared and he said, do I look handicapped? Right? As he stood there with in his crutch, right? God bless him. But Joe, I'm sorry, go ahead.
My pleasure, Mr. Mayor. Joe Mahalco, 12 Anna Terrace, Whippany section of Hanover Township. I am so pleased to hear your remarks. I echo Judy's accolades for your enlightenment as to proposals that come before you and the considerations that are being made. Speaking from a point of view of what I consider a grand Senate majority, who don't show up at these meetings, but surely voice their opinions privately, some erroneous, some factual. I would only like to emphasize, we understand that you must entertain proposals. Somebody says, I'd like to make this proposal, these are my suggestions. From my input with my personal interrelationships through social media, through personal contact, I could only offer this piece for you all. We do not consider additional housing necessary to fulfill developmental projects. If a mass portion or a minimal portion of housing is attached to a project by a developer, and the contingency is, you don't let me do this, I'm not going to do anything, I think you guys have the right to say, go to Parsippany, go to Morris Plains, go to Morris Township. You've been on the right track, you've restored a tremendous amount of faith in what I thought our committee stood for, and that is, I'm very proud of you. I hope that you continue in that effort, because it's my town as well as yours.
Joe, thank you very, it's our town, and you hit it on the nose. We all, it's sometimes, there seems to be a wall between this dais here and out there, and that is, there's us and you. We live here, we work here, our kids go to school here. We have every interest in this town doing well, retaining the suburban character that it always has been. If we grow, we all know that we want to grow in the most positive way, not impact the town, we want to grow progressively. I use the word to so many people that we are dynamic in Hanover. We have to be dynamic. We have to move, but we don't have to move in wrong directions. So we're going to keep our eye on the ball. You can be assured of that, that's for sure. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. Anyone else like to be heard at this time? Hearing none? Seeing none? Motion for adjourn? Okay.
So moved.
Moved and fixed. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, thank you all. Okay, Joe, I'll give you these, and then you'll leave me alone.
We got that posted on the website, right?
Oh, yeah, are they?
Because we want to get people going to the website. It's important that they read it.
Absolutely.
These are all the, do you want to serve letters? These are all the do you want to serve?
Oh, is this it? Oh, okay, these are the people that have, okay.
Reappointed.